We're back with Emily Brown, professor at the Pilon School of Business at Sheridan College in Mississauga. We're talking before the break about where Canadian students stand in terms of numeracy. Maybe if you can finish that thought.
Right. So there was a study conducted in the 24 colleges in Ontario. It's called the College Student Achievement Project, formerly College Math Project. And what 10 years of research found was that as many as a third of students in the college system failed in their programs simply because of their math skills. And this study looked at the pathways they took from high school into college programs. And it was quite disturbing because, your students may not meet their personal and professional goals. And so retention was lower. Graduating students into the business world was not as good as it could be. And it's really timely that we have this interview today because just recently, the OECD, the Organization for Economic Economic Cooperation and Development, just released their PISA study. And PISA is the program for international student assessment. And every 3 years, they conduct assessments on students around the world in 81 different countries, looking at either math, reading, and science skills. And every cycle, they choose a particular topic to focus on. And so 2022 was mathematics. 23,000 students, 15-year-olds in Canada, took the assessment, and the results were kind of alarming. In fact, the director of the OECD suggests that Canada should look at this as a cause for concern. So while 78% of those Canadian students met the numeracy level to conduct themselves in a numerate world, only 12% of Canadian students excelled at mathematics and numeracy. And in fact, 1 in 5 were just at that level 2 numeracy to be effective in the world.
What can be done to change these numbers, to make them better, to improve them?
Well, I think we have to have a greater focus on numeracy. It is as important as literacy, and sometimes they go hand in hand, right? A less literate person may also function less well with numeracy, but we need to really focus on that, give extra time for that. When I look at these results, we've had a steady decline, so we can't attribute it entirely to pandemic interruptions. So we can't just say, well, it was the pandemic and we'll improve. And in fact, we have a whole cohort of students who were adversely impacted by, learning from home, interruptions, a variety of deliveries. So, octosemesters and quadrisemesters and really having gaps in their math learning. So we do need to focus on that. It is important for young people because numeracy has been linked to improved professional and personal outcomes.
It would seem very obvious, wouldn't
it? It would, and so it is surprising that we haven't made a greater focus of numeracy. It's suggested that those who are more numerate obviously make better financial decisions. It's really linked to financial literacy, that they're better able to manage their finances and their outcomes. They do, in fact, earn higher wages. And also, they're able to afford the things that they need in their lives. So it's really important to focus on it.
Is there a psychological element to this? As an engineer, you're forced to love numbers. If you don't love numbers, it's hard to be an engineer. Yeah. I'm always amazed at how people say, oh, I hate math, I hate numbers, I just don't give it any thought. Is it psychological? Or is there some sort of, is our system designed not to make numbers interesting?
Well, I think, teachers do their best to teach math. Some teachers don't love it either. And so that's a challenge. And perhaps there's some anxiety that's passed on from families to, and teachers to students. And I think, we have to have a more engaging, based in real world studies of mathematics. Where do you see it? And that's really the important feature that I have in my business math courses. I say to students, you took these math courses in high school where your teachers didn't know what path you were going after you left their classes. You could be engineers or doctors, you could be truck drivers, you could now be in a business school. So once they come to me, my focus is really applied, and that is the beauty of a college, right? You teach You teach applied in an academic setting.
Right. Real stuff,
Real
not
stuff,
theoretical
yeah.
stuff, real stuff.
Yeah, so when students are in my class and when they leave my class, you know, they say, I'm more confident, I make complex concepts simple, but it's really with a business focus. Where do
Hold
you
that
see
thought. We'll be right back after the break.